You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, the end is near.
Well, here we go, another Saturday night. Wow, we're so glad you could come in tonight to JW World News. Got a big program, so by all means, stay with us. Well, there we have it. Well, we all made it through another year. Isn't that something? Now we're into 2022. We're counting down the last days of the Watchtower. And I have to say, the Watchtower hates to see these years passing. Every year that passes is really another problem for the Watchtower. I mean, that's the biggest problem that a false prophet has is time. Time keeps passing by, and where's Armageddon? Where are all these things the witnesses promised you? Well, nothing came about. So, Watchtower, another year and another stake in your heart, really, because you're nothing but a false prophet. So, anyways, welcome in here. My name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the epicenter of apostasy, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. Hey, the apostate capital of the world. That's what we call it. As a matter of fact, on Reddit this week, I was going through some news stories, and all the people, all the apostates that were writing in from Massachusetts was unbelievable. And I always call it the apostate capital of the world because we have so many apostates up here. I'm not sure why, but I sure am in good company. We have so many people that have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower, and they're now out of it, and they're up here in Massachusetts. So anyways, welcome to everyone. We're so glad we can do this live every Saturday night. We've been doing it for 16 years. We have not missed a Saturday night. We do it because of you. You're here. We're here because you're here. You're the ones that really enjoy the program to the point of really exploring what we have to say here. And you start inquiring on the things we have to say. I'm getting so many emails every week. It's just totally amazing to me. And I can't even answer them all. So if I haven't answered your email, don't get mad at me. There's only so many I can answer. But we're finding so many people are leaving the Watchtower right now. And that's a good thing, right? We're so glad that's happening. And the other thing that I see happening too is there's a lot of people that are leaving just outright, packing their bags and leaving. But then on the other hand, there's a lot that are just, they're just packing it up and they're saying, geez, I don't want to be around much longer. But they're hanging in because of relatives and friends. There's PMOs, as we say. We're PMOs, as we say. But anyways, you're all listening in here tonight, and thank you for coming in. And I just have to say a couple of things here before we get into the news tonight. We're not going to go too much with what's going on recently here. But in the last couple of days, I have to tell you that the new service report is out. Now, it hasn't changed too much. Of course, the Watchtower is bragging that everything is great for 2021, but really it isn't. And next week, we're going to go into detail on that. We're going to really go into the numbers. We're not going to do it tonight because we have so many stories we have to cover. So just kind of hang in with us, and next week we'll talk all about the new numbers that came out this week for the Watchtower in their annual report. Does the Watchtower like New Year's Eve? Do they like people celebrating it? Did you celebrate it? Did you do anything last night? Did you go out and watch a ball drop or something else? Did you go dancing? Did you go out night clubbing or whatever? Well, many people do. And if you did, that's okay. But if you're Jehovah's Witness, it's not okay. Because what we see here is Jehovah's Witnesses, if you get in the Awake magazine, December 22nd, 1986, you're going to see that on pages 20 and 21, it says here that this is what goes on New Year's Eve and why you really shouldn't celebrate it according to the Watchtower. You see, sometimes people get drunk on New Year's Eve. In the Bible, we know condemns drunkenness. Other people are greedy on New Year's, and the Bible is against that too. But if that's not enough to convince you that it's wrong to wish someone a happy New Year, there's more. The earliest known New Year's festival happened in ancient Babylon. Well, you can see that coming, right? Yeah, paganism. So yeah, it's connected with paganism. So the Watchtower connects everything with paganism. What can you really do? What fun can you really have in the Watchtower? You really, really can't. So we're going to discuss more ideas here with the current news next week. There wasn't too much coming across the news feed this week, but I do want to tell you that there are 5 factors that are causing the Watchtower to be in decline. And maybe you figured out what those 5 factors are. But we identified 5 of them, that the Watchtower is in deep decline right now. All during the year 2021, they have been in decline. In the causing of that decline, number one is child sex abuse. Yes, that's what's causing decline. People are seeing all the abuse cover-ups in the Watchtower, and it's causing some real issues. Many people are saying, that's it. They're looking stuff up online, and they're saying, hey, that's something we don't want to be part of. Also, shunning. Shunning is another thing that is causing a big decline. Many Jehovah's Witnesses have relatives and friends in the Watchtower during 2021 has been ramping up the shunning practice. So many witnesses are leaving. It's declining because of this shunning practice. Also, JW broadcasting. That hasn't helped one bit. As a matter of fact, bringing all of those governing body members on has hurt them more than helped them. These guys do not make for a very good appearance. They don't make for being the faithful and discreet slave, the only channel of God on the planet. And also internet access. Wow, that is also what's causing the Watchtower to be in decline. Yes, indeed, the internet is opening up in more and more countries, and that certainly is creating some issues. And another factor that's causing many to leave the Watchtower in 2021 is the downsizing. Yeah, many Bethelites have been left to hang, so to speak. They've been kicked out of Bethel to go back to their local congregations, downsizing at the Bethels around the world. So there you have it. Those are some of the reasons why the Watchtower has been in a steep decline in 2021. And we're going to talk more about this tonight as we go on here on JW World News. But I really want to thank you guys for coming in. I think you're going to find some of these stories. I went through it. I spent a number of days here just going through all the top stories in the Watchtower. And we're going to give them to you tonight. And they're going to be somewhat in order. What we're going to do is we're going to go from last January 2021 right up till the end of December here, 2021. So, yeah, I think you'll find it very fascinating, some of the things that we're discussing tonight. So we're going to kind of go month by month. And then what we'll do is at the end of the program, we'll ask you what you think the top story in the Watchtower was for 2021. So that should be pretty easy to do, right? But we're going to roll the clocks all the way back to David Splane. He's a governing body member. And in January of last year, David Splane came on broadcasting on jw.org. And he was talking about writing letters. and how, because of COVID, the witness work kind of came to a halt, going door to door in the cot work. So David Splain was saying how writing letters is what the witnesses are now doing. So that was last January. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. If you were a witness, writing letters like crazy. So let me just get in here. I just want to play you some things here. I'm just going to get on my other computer. Just give me a second here. And we're going to play, we're going to give some of the, we're going to talk about some of the things here that happened in 2021. We're going to start off with David Splain. Let's see if we can't get him on the computer here. Let me just connect my sound system from here and put it here. Let's start our newscast off with this. So let's do this. I'm going to just make sure you guys can hear us all right on YouTube. So just give us a second here to get this up. And we're going to play the video for you. And if you're on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it. So let's just get the video up. Let me just get into live streaming here. I'm going to share this so you guys will see what David Splain had to say about angels helping in the preaching work in 2021. So I think you'll find that very fascinating. So let's go here. I think this is the one here. Yep. All right. So let's do this. Let's share this. I believe it's being shared now. Let me just check. And yes, it is. So why don't we play David Splain right now? And let's see what he has to say about angels helping in the witness work. Now, remember, last January, the COVID was certainly very much in the Watchtower. We had witnesses dying. They weren't able to go to the meetings for a good part of a year. So Splain is coming on describing the letter writing campaign and how, it's so great that we can participate in this campaign. I'll listen in, see what you think. Let me get the volume up so you can hear. Okay, listen in.
Hello, everyone. For this update, I'd like to talk about what you, dear brothers and sisters, have accomplished during the past few months. Jehovah must be very proud of you. Your obedience, your zeal. In spite of all the obstacles, you haven't let up in your service. On the contrary, we're receiving reports from one country after another of peaks in the number of publishers, placements, regular pioneers, Bible studies, and meeting attendance. Well done, faithful servants of Jehovah. Of course, all of us are anxious to get back in the door-to-door work and doing public witnessing.
Friends, I have to tell you, no witness is anxious about going back door to door. No witness is anxious about doing that. But David Splain's saying that this is a puff piece from the Watchtower. So listen in as he kind of lets you know that, the letter writing campaign is just fantastic. Listen to the rest.
And if we're limited to doing letter writing and telephone witnessing, we might feel that we aren't accomplishing much. If that's the way you feel, remember what we're told in Revelation chapter 14 and verse 6. I'd like you to follow along as I read this. It says, "And I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven, and he had everlasting good news to declare to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation and tribe and tongue and people." So an angel or a group of angels are supervising the preaching work. Now just think, because of our limitations, the angels may be busier than ever, making sure that the kingdom message reaches the right people. Otherwise, how would you explain the increases we're seeing? You write a letter and send it out. The recipient reads it, but isn't interested. What have you accomplished? You have given a witness, maybe the most thorough witness that person has ever received. Some people are never home when we call, or they never answer the door. So they have no idea what we believe until they receive that letter. But suppose someone else in the household would be interested. The angels might see to it that that person reads the letter. You've given the angels something to work with. or you dial the wrong.
Well, there you go. I mean, let's stop right there. So let me just get over here and get him off the screen. So what you've got here is you've got David Splain telling you that Jehovah's Witnesses have the angels with them when they're writing the letters, and how this is all working out so much for the better, because when you're going door to door, sometimes you don't find people home. Sometimes they're not answering the door, but the letters, they come in, and the people read them, and they come into the so-called truth. Do you believe all of that? Do you really believe all of that? I don't think you do. I don't. But they have to say that. That's what the Watchtower does. They're good at stretching the truth. They're good at doing these things. So that's how I feel. So we started the year off. I mean, let's face it, sitting down and writing letters, for hours upon hours. I don't think that's a very pleasant thing to do. But anyways, David Splain, he gave that talk, and many witnesses believed everything he said. It shows really how desperate the Jehovah's Witnesses are to get some new numbers. Oh, we got to get people writing more letters. The more letters we write, maybe we'll get out of the millions of letters. Maybe we'll get a few hundred people become witnesses. They have really shown us that the normal ways of doing business are not working any longer. We know when you guys are witnesses. I know back in 2005, even when I was going door to door, I have to tell you the truth, there wasn't many people answering the door. There wasn't. As a matter of fact, we used to actually put on our house-to-house slip, home but hiding, HBH. Did you do that? Home but hiding. That's what most of the householders were doing back then. So, they weren't listening then, and they're not even responding to these letters. But the Watchtower has to make it sound like they are. And of course, we know too, during 2021, well, what they did is they changed the time that a witness would have to be out in service. We know one time you had to at least report 1 hour, 1 hour a month to be known as an active publisher. But then they cut it down to 15 minutes or less. That was in the beginning of the year. But even as the year progressed along, 2021, they even lowered it. And we're going to talk about that later. They even lowered it from 15 minutes. How much lower can you get? From 15 minutes to actually being lower. Boy, I'll tell you, that's what's really crazy to me when you start hearing things like that. I mean, I wish that happened when I was a witness. No, when I was a witness, you had to get your time in, or you were dead meat in the Watchtower. So I wanted to bring that to your attention here tonight. The Zoom meetings is what the Jehovah's Witnesses have been doing for the most part all year, 2021. And, I'm wondering if the Jehovah's Witnesses are ever going to come back to the Kingdom Hall. We talked about this back in February, didn't we? We talked about all of these Zoom meetings, and many people were asking, will the Jehovah's Witnesses return back to the Kingdom Hall soon? Well, we talked about it, and we didn't see that it was going to happen. Many of you guys calling into the program too, you saw that too. You said, no, it's going to be a while yet. So the COVID actually created some issues for the Watchtower, but in some respects, they came out smelling like a rose because of COVID. COVID actually created panic for some Jehovah's Witnesses. They figured, oh, this must be the beginning of Armageddon. So they really wanted to stay close to the organization, thinking that, oh, COVID is this pandemic. This is it. We're at the very last end of the rope here. Armageddon's right around the corner. So yeah, that all happened. And then what happened in February as well, we saw everyone was signing up to be a pioneer in February of 2021. They all wanted to be a pioneer because guess what? No hour requirement. Come on, can you really come to grips with that? No hour requirement? I mean, you could be a pioneer without reporting any time. Yeah, the Watchtower said you could do that back in February. Can you imagine that? That is just absolutely crazy. So that's something that, I tossed and turned in bed at night thinking, what is going on with this organization? How can you be a Jehovah's Witness without reporting any time? I was removed as a ministerial servant once because I wasn't getting 10 hours in a month. But now a pioneer or any witness, you don't have to get any time in, at least back in February. They're changing it back now for 2022. But back in February 2021, no, you don't have to get any time in because they knew, the Watchtower knew how ridiculous it was to sit down and write letters all day. Who would want to do that? Hi, we got New York City coming in. Go ahead, New York.
I was just wondering, Rick, the publisher, you said no hour time limit required. So the publisher and the pioneer is now the same thing? Because like you said, you were removed from eldership or something because you didn't get enough time in. So what's the difference?
Well, they had to do something, Shirley. It's very boring sitting down for, 5 or 6 hours a day writing letters. So I can see here that the Watchtower would say, look, we relaxed the time period that the amount of time you have to get in every month. And they did that because people were getting disgusted writing letters all day long. Would you like doing that, Shirley?
Nobody does.
No.
Nobody does. So I'm saying, like, okay, I was never baptized. So let's just say, oh, okay, I was still in during the pandemic and I wrote my fair amount of letters. And like you said, no time, no hour limit required. Like a pioneer sister and me not being baptized, we're putting in the same hours. We're on the same quote unquote level or whatever. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, it doesn't make sense at all. But no, you didn't have to. But that was the first of the year, right around February. And they kept that practice up for about 5 or 6 months. And then they started saying you have to put some time in. So in 2020, you got to go back to reporting time the way that you used to. Yes.
Oh, so they flip another one of their flip flops.
Yeah, in 2022, that is, I said, yeah, they have to go back now to reporting your time like you did before.
Yeah.
Yep. So
like you say flip flop, that's what they're known for.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you for checking in. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So also, I wanted to bring this up. Back in February, of course, I get these reports, these reminders from Atlantis. He's our insider at the Watchtower, and he sends me, as well as other people as well, but he sends me announcements. He sends me announcements and reminders of what's going on. He has these letters that elders read to themselves or read to the congregation. So back in February, there was an announcement, standard talent release form. So they're also talking about that this week, by the way. They're looking for talent, Jehovah's Witnesses, to participate in some of their videos. So they're looking for talent, but back in February 2021, they wanted to send out a talent release form. If you wanted to be a JW actress or a JW actor, well, you had to fill out this release form and let them know how you feel about it. And look at friends, I'm going to tell you what, this release form is unilateral. And what I mean by that, it's not bilateral. Now, let me just explain the difference. If you have a contract that is unilateral, it only affects one party. In this case, the Watchtower. They come out smelling like a rose. The person who signs this talent release form, they're going to get diddly squat. They get nothing from the Watchtower. The Watchtower never gave you anything to begin with. But let me just go through this because I think you'll find it fascinating, what I have to say here. So what it is this, they want you actually to sign your life away. So maybe you're a young witness and you're saying, you know what, I'd like to be in one of those videos. I see them at the conventions, and geez, I'm a good looking guy. I'm a good looking guy. I'm a good looking woman. I think I could get an acting career going here. I'll sign in with the Watchtower. I'll sign the release form. And so what it does, this release form says that you're going to basically sign your life away. You're going to have no rights at all. You're not to make any money. And I have to say, these guys are they are pure, unholy frauds. That's what the governing body is and the Watchtower official. That they're going to get all your talent that you have. They're going to use you. They're going to abuse you. And, the contract is favoring them only. Go ahead. We got Michigan coming in. Did you want to come and say something, Michigan? All right. If not, that's okay. So anyways, they're looking for talent. Now, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, doesn't that appeal to you? When you were a young witness, a little whippersnapper, wouldn't that appeal to you? Wouldn't you love to be in their videos? Wouldn't you love to be there and, oh, look at this, Brother Smith, look at him. Oh, he's being used by the Watchtower. Boy, oh boy, that'd be unbelievable. Go ahead if you want to come in. We got Michigan, we got some others. So go ahead. Let's start with, if you want to say something, you run with us. Go ahead. All right.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, Randy.
I just wanted to say, for anybody that's not ever heard of that unilateral contract, I know the first time I learned about it, I'd wasted about 3 weeks of my time training for this company that I found out later they were a scam, and I'd already signed the contract and turned it in, and then I got studying it over, what my pay was going to be, and I didn't see their signature anyplace. So then I did research, and I learned that it was a unilateral contract. In other words, only one way. I signed it. I'm the only one that's obligating myself. They wasn't obligated to pay me anything. So I went and asked them to tear it up before I actually started doing any more work for them.
Well, there you go, Randy. So you had firsthand experience with a unilateral contract. Yeah, so the Watchtower with this, signing you up to be talent. I mean, maybe you're very, very talented. Maybe you're a girl or a woman, a man that has a lot of talent, and you appear in some of these Watchtower videos. Now, I read through the contract. I didn't see where, if anybody ever saw the video, then wanted to hire you, whether they would want to get a cut of the action. But even though that's not stated in the contract, they probably would. So if you're really good at what you would do, acting, say, and someone noticed you, oh, look at Sister Jones. My goodness, she's great. Well, let's get her on Fox News, for example. So, they'd probably want a cut of what you got because you appeared on JW broadcasting video. I'm not saying that's for real, but I'm just thinking. But it's a unilateral contract. It just favors them. All right, so let's move on. We got more stories. We got a bunch of stories here for 2021. And we're going by month. So let's move up to March of 2021. Jehovah's Witnesses to join the redress scheme for sexual abuse survivors. Well, what's that all about? Well, what that's all about is in Australia, we know back in 2017, they had the Australia Royal Commission, and the commission for 2 years looked into the cover-ups of child molestation in various religions and organizations. And of course, the Watchtower showed up. So, after investigating the Watchtower, there were over 1,000 cases of them covering up child abuse. So what happened is the Australia Royal Commission, it's like a court. They decided that, the organizations that caused these problems and covered up child molestation, they should be held accountable. They should have to have punitive damage. They should have to pay money to the victims who they hurt. So, I think there was 273 religions and organizations that the Australia Royal Commission actually looked into. Watchtower was one of them. And let me tell you, Watchtower is one of the worst. So anyways, it's what they call a redress. The Australia Royal Commission had what they call a redress plan. So if any organization hurt the victim, would be paid. They would be paid a sum of money in the tune of like $110,000 per person. So the Watchtower dragged their feet for the longest time. They would not join the redress position. They wouldn't go along with it. At first they said, no, we're not doing it because we're right and you're wrong. But then the Australia Royal Commission, the country of Australia, said, okay, I'll tell you what. The government stepped in. They said, okay, I'll tell you what. If you don't join, we're going to take away your charity status. Well, now the Watchtower started thinking, geez, we better join because they could lose millions and millions of dollars, even though it's going to cost them millions to settle. Evidently, they did the numbers, and it's worth their while. They'd rather pay the victims upwards of $100,000 apiece rather than lose their charity status. So now the organization back in March says, yep, we will join the redress scheme. That's what they call it. It's not a shystery thing. It's what they call a scheme or a schedule that they would pay money to those whom they abused. But, I have to tell you, really, they kept dragging their feet, even though in March they said they would do it, but they really didn't come forward until September. They didn't come forward until September to actually start participating and giving money back to the people that they abused. So I think you find that rather fascinating. Well, why would they do that? The Watchtower always told us when we were in the Watchtower, be honest and be forthright and do what the governments are suggesting you do. Don't give them trouble. Don't rock the boat, as they would say. But the Watchtower rocked the boat. They said, yeah, in March, we'll join. But all these months went by, and then in September, they finally came forward and said, okay, we'll start making recompense. I don't know. I mean, you have to think about this. You got to really think about it. Is the Watchtower really law-abiding? The answer is no. They're not law-abiding. They are criminals. And it's only a matter of time, and I do believe that we will see some officials of the Watchtower and at least maybe some governing body members go to prison. They're violating too many laws. They're criminal. That's how I feel here, and many of you guys do as well, I'm sure, listening into this broadcast. Now, also back in March of 2021, another thing that we came across here on JW World News is that in Edinburgh, Scotland, the residents were targeted with handwritten letters from child members of Jehovah's Witnesses. And many of the people in Edinburgh, they thought that move was sick. They thought that it was not right that they had these young children, Jehovah's Witness children, writing letters and to the residents. They thought that wasn't right to have all these young people having handwritten letters slid under the door of people in their community. They thought that was not right. In fact, many of the residents got together and they complained. They complained that this was not right. That young kids were writing them letters from the Watchtower and basically, suggesting all kinds of things like, you're not going to live after Armageddon if you're not a witness, things of that nature. Maybe quite not that emphatic, but along that line in preaching to these people. And a lot of the people said, this is not right. They said that, during the COVID outbreak and there's a lockdown, the Jehovah's Witnesses are actually sending young children to write messages, and some of them are going out and slipping them under the doorways of people. So this created a problem. And, the government looked into it and they thought that it was something that was not right for the witnesses to do. And when they questioned the Jehovah's Witnesses, they questioned a man by the name of Campbell, Brother Campbell. He was a local spokesman for the Jehovah's Witness in Scotland, and he defended this. Oh, he thought it was wonderful that the children could go out and slip all of these letters under the doors. He said that any letters are that are sent out are personal convictions and a part of the children's personal ministry. Don't you think they were being forced by their mother and father, really? So that was a big story, really. It gained a lot of attention of this letter writing campaign they've been having all during 2021 and how they've been disturbing people doing that. And then, of course, in March as well, we talked about Jehovah's Witnesses in COVID. Yes, the Watchtower announced back in March of 2021 that they advised over 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses died because of COVID. And they said it was a tragedy, but they said 5,000 Jehovah's Witnesses have died. But, that number has been updated a lot. And as we went along during the year, it's been updated. Then a month or so later, it was updated to 8,500 plus have died from COVID in the Watchtower. So they kept updating it. And then at the end of the broadcast, we'll tell you how many Jehovah's Witnesses have died from COVID, say, during 2020-21. All right, boy, I'll tell you what, there's a lot here to unpack, so let's get into it. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Now, one story that really, I'm going to put a gold star next to this one. And then what we're going to do at the end of the broadcast, we're going to go back and we're going to pick our top story. But I'm going to put a gold star. I'm going to put this as one of my top stories in the Watchtower. A criminal court in Belgium declares the shunning of ex-witnesses to be a hate crime. Yeah, do you remember us talking about that? A hate crime. That's exactly what people in Belgium was saying. When Jehovah's Witnesses shun individuals who left the Watchtower, that's a hate crime, according to the Belgian court. There was a former elder. His name was Patrick Hayek of Belgium, and he was disfellowshipped for questioning the Watchtower and how they handled cases of child sexual abuse, and he experienced shunning firsthand. Well, yeah, all you have to do is question the Watchtower, and you'll experience shunning firsthand too. Hayek was prepared to bear the financial cost of bringing action against the Watchtower. And after hearing his case, the government of Belgium, they said, well, wait a minute, Brother Hayek. We will bring the charges. So the government of Belgium decided they would bring the criminal charges against the Watchtower. This is the first time ever that I can remember, really, in doing our news here every Saturday night for 16 years. This is the first time ever that I have seen criminal charges coming up against the Watchtower. So that is something, friends, when you stop and think about it, that's really something that we should really be happy for. I like to see that. Now, it's an ongoing thing. We're going to talk about it more as the months progressed along. So now we have Belgium bringing criminal charges against the Watchtower back in February, was it? March? They're bringing criminal charges against the Watchtower. And we're going to see how those charges, how that all plays out as we move forward. So stay with us. All right. I like that. I like that's the first time ever, like I say, criminal charges. Let me just see what else is going on here. All right. We slid down a little bit too far here. Let me go back and see where we are. All right. We got the help from the angels. Let me just slide down a little bit further here. Stay with us. You're on JW World News. Well, we're bringing the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. So we're talking about it here. We talk about it every Saturday night right here. Yeah, go ahead. Someone want to speak up? Go ahead.
Hi, Rick. In regard to shunning, the shunning practice that is so strictly practiced in Watchtower.
Yeah.
I was looking on a site and I found an article written by Brenda Lee, who wrote Out of the Cocoon from Escape from the Watchtower. And she was talking about shunning and how her nephews, her niece, her mother, her father, everybody, sister, brother, have all been shunning her for over 25, 30 years. and her son, who is grown, he's been shunned his entire life. And she said in her mind, she sees this as family genocide. But she says, I believe the Watchtower is committing family genocide in the name of God, because they tear families apart forever. Thank you, Rick.
Well, that's exactly what they do, Anne-Marie. They do. They really do. They tear families apart. And it's so difficult for the world to see it. We see it because we're former Jehovah's Witnesses. But as far as the rest of the world, they have no idea. Many Jehovah's Witnesses have no idea how dangerous the Watchtower organization is. Okay, you're on with us. Go ahead. I believe we have... well, we got New Jersey. Yes. We got New Jersey first, Dick. Hold on. Go ahead, New Jersey.
Oh, hi. I just wanted to wish everybody a happy New Year. It came from New Jersey. I'm not feeling well today. I've been feeling terrible.
Well, thank you, sister. We hope you feel better. Yep.
I wanted to wish everybody, thank you. I wanted to wish everybody a happy New Year, healthy New Year, prosperity, great health, great success, and everything. And don't get me wrong, Rick. I'm not doing this like I'm out of the Watchtower. I used to wish people happy New Year even when I was in the Watchtower. Believe me, I used to. I never thought there was anything wrong with it.
Hey, come closer to your phone, sister. A little far from your phone. I can't hear you too good.
No, I said even when I was in the Watchtower, I used to wish people a happy New Year. So.
Well, thank you. Happy New Year to you, Kim. Always good to always good to have you checking in. Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right, go ahead, Dick. You're on with us. Oh.
Yeah, quick thought. Back in the late 70s, the Watchtower reversed itself on the subject of disfellowshipping. They said that you could now talk to disfellowship ones and try to bring them into the truth, their truth. And then about 6 months later, they completely reversed themselves again, and now you couldn't talk to them. So you can tell us the man-made organization that this is no new light BS that they always try to put across. They just change like chameleons. They change who they are all the time. Thanks, Rick.
Well, you're welcome, Dick. Thomas Hodgins, come on in from Kansas.
Right before you left the JW World News last week, I mentioned to you that I didn't want to interrupt, but that appeal that they had about the shunning, they lost that appeal. I saw it on the internet. I think I might have forwarded you that link, but they did lose that appeal on the shunning, and I didn't know if you were aware. I saw that on the Facebook. Somebody had posted that. I hope that's correct, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, from what I understand, I'm not sure if it is or not, Tom. I haven't seen anything about it. I've checked the Belgium reports and what have you, so I'm not sure that's correct. I believe there's still the jury's still out on it. So we'll find out. We'll know within the next couple of weeks or so. But the research I did, it shows that it hasn't been settled yet.
Okay.
Yeah, this, in fact, I'll tell you what, this, just to go back to that case in Belgium, the case was started in 2015 by this elder. And he said that when he left the Watchtower, he more or less was exposing the cover-ups of child molestation, the shunning practices, and he was disfellowshipped, as we said. But the country of Belgium has been picking up crumbs on the trail here, investigating this case for 6 years. And after 6 years, they have declared the shunning in the Watchtower to be a hate crime. Can you imagine that? A hate crime. And the reason is because the Watchtower is inciting hatred toward ex-members who were deemed to be mentally diseased apostates, pests, if you would, and shunned by family and former friends. That in Belgium, and it should be in all countries, a violation of their basic human rights. So, this is still an appeal. I know there's a lot of stuff floating around, Tom, and it may have been settled, but I have not seen it yet. We'll report when I get the answer to that. But I did research it somewhat thoroughly this week, and it doesn't appear that it's been settled yet. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully, we can get some charges against the Watchtower here. So that'll be good. That'll be very. Yes, go ahead.
I just say apparently I read the wrong information. So anyway, somebody didn't have it right. So I'm glad you caught that. Appreciate that.
All righty. Well, there we go. So now we've got. Well, I have to tell you what. I got to tell you what. We've got. We've got a fine given against the Watchtower. Now, let me just put it this way. That man who in Belgium sued the Watchtower, he did get a fine that was placed against the Watchtower. And of course, the Watchtower came in and appealed it. But if he did receive the money, which he hasn't yet because it's in appeal, it was only, well, it was 12,000 euros. And if you run the numbers on that, 12,000 euros, because it happened in Belgium, right? So 12,000 euros would be $13,648.07. That's not a lot of money. I mean, the Watchtower, that's pocket change to the Watchtower. They could have paid that out of their back pocket. So that's not really a big fine, but the money isn't the issue here. The money isn't the issue. Can the Watchtower get away? Shunning people is the issue. All right, let's take a look here. Let's go over here. Let's take a look at back in March of 2021. Boy, we've got so many stories to talk about here tonight. But back in March of 2021, there was a letter that was sent out to the elders. As a matter of fact, our good friend Atlantis, the undercover man at the Watchtower, he sent us this information. And what he said back then in March, it was a letter that was to be considered by the elders, that the faithful and discreet slave has provided practical scriptural guidance and highlights principles for individuals to consider when deciding whether to organize or attend a social gathering. So the meat of the subject here has to do with social gatherings. Now listen how paranoid the Watchtower is becoming. So in this letter that was to be discussed among the elders, rather than making rules, the emphasis should be on applying Bible principles. When Bible principles are applied, social gatherings can be refreshing and bring honor to Jehovah. Now it starts to get a little bit spongy. Listen to this. While there is no objection to wholesome social gatherings, we have received reports that some have begun to arrange additional meetings and events for spiritual instruction. Friends, what is wrong with meeting for spiritual instruction? And then it goes on to say these groups meeting for spiritual instruction, even beginning and ending such meetings with a prayer. Well, why wouldn't you say a prayer for spiritual discussion? Then it says, while the individuals organizing and participating in such meetings likely are well-intentioned, there is no provision for such arrangements. No, the Watchtower does not want you discussing things aside from what they want you to discuss. It says Jehovah's people receive ample spiritual instruction and encouragement at congregation meetings, assemblies, and conventions, as well as through JW Broadcasting and our publications, under the guidelines of His Holy Spirit, on the basis of His word of truth. So they're saying here, Jehovah provides what is needed through the faithful and discreet slave. Now, it says that care should be taken not to organize or promote meetings for spiritual feeding beyond what has been provided by the organization. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? So they're telling you no spiritual discussions. If we don't sanction it and it's not one of our meetings, don't discuss the Bible with anybody. Now, such meetings, they're saying here in this letter from Atlantis that I got, such meetings could detract from what Jesus Christ is accomplishing through his congregation on earth today. Can you believe that? Talk about insecurity. That is total insecurity. Yet didn't Jesus say when he was here on earth with his disciples, didn't he say to look for truth as a pearl of high value? So you search, you look, you discuss. And then he said, this looking for this pearl of high value, that would mean putting every effort forth to find the truth, be it with like-minded individuals in a private meeting or not. So wouldn't that be the case? Do you want to find the truth? Do you just want to get the truth from a fraudulent organization? Or do you want to search for it and talk to other people about it? I think that would be the right way to do it, right? Wow, I'll tell you, so many things are going on. Let's move up to April. Let's move up to April 2021, and let's talk about what happened then. The 1914 Jehovah's Witness doctrine, it is disappearing. That's what I found during 2021. I have found that 1914 doctrine is disappearing from the Watchtower. Has anyone noticed that the Watchtower is no longer using the 1914 doctrine? There's not many references, that is, at all, in any of the newer publications. And friends, the whole idea of the faithful and discreet slave hangs on 1914. They've now shot themselves in the foot if they're going to try to get away from this 1914 teaching. And I don't know if you remember or not, but Brother Noor and Brother Franz, I call them brothers just to stay in the vernacular, they saw this coming way back in the 1960s and the 1970s. They were beginning to have doubts back then that 1914 might have just been a guessing game. Now, when the official governing body was formed in 1972 and took the place of the president and the board of directors, Fred Franz gave a talk showing how wrong it was that, 1914 and 1919, around that year, that the faithful and discreet slave was chosen by God to disseminate truth, the only channel of truth on the planet. At the 1974 governing body meeting discussing the generation teaching, Nathan Noor said that regarding 1914, he says, I think we are right. And then he said, I hope we are right. He wasn't sure, but the governing body went forward, and they knew that the issue had some problems attached to it, but they buried their head in the sand, and they pushed on with the idea that the governing body was chosen by Jesus, and in 1919, he looked at the organization as being the only true religion on the planet. Isn't that something else? My goodness gracious. If anyone has any thoughts on it, you'd like to come in and talk about it, by all means do it. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear from you. If not, we'll move on. We got so many stories here to touch on tonight. So by all means, stay with us. We're going to be discussing all the stories that happened in the Watchtower in the year 2021. You're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. So let me get back in here. Now, the story, the song, you guys remember the song. It's a little lighter note here, but I wanted to bring this up because many Jehovah's Witnesses, they when they heard the song Imagine, that song by John Lennon, right? Well, in fact, many Jehovah's Witnesses thought that song was written because John Lennon was given a Live Forever book, and it inspired him to write the song Imagine. Now, I don't know if you ever heard that or not, but anyways, if you listen to the words, imagine there is no heaven, imagine all the people living for today, nothing to kill and die for, and no religion too. If anything, that song should make a Jehovah's Witness uncomfortable. But many will believe. They believe that song was written because John Lennon got that Live Forever book. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around concerning certain people being attached to the witnesses. I know even remember the song Crystal Blue Persuasion, Tommy James and the Shondells. Remember that song? Well, some say that song was inspired because the group got a Blue Truth book. Can you believe all of this? But the witnesses would. They believe it. They believe even Johnny Carson was studying to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So I don't know. You can take it to the bank if you want, but I don't think it's going to cash. I really, really don't. All right, well, let's move on. We got to move up to April. We got to move up to April of 2021. And I put a little star next to this one because I think this is one of the top stories. I really, really do. One of the top stories for 2021. The tribulation is when God's people will be attacked by all the nations. Yeah. Then Jehovah will go into rage at those attacking his people and destroy them. Friends, this is what's happening during 2021. The Watchtower really had to make it look like the witnesses were going to experience this great tribulation. They were going to have all these images in the Watchtower articles showing the stormtroopers coming in, showing the troopers coming in with guns and ready to shoot the witnesses, scaring the witnesses to death. So, now they're saying that they are now to the point that the stormtroopers are ready to come in and attack them. But this is ambiguity. This is not sensible. It's very confusing. The Watchtower has increased the ambiguity recently. It's very, very difficult to follow exactly what they're saying. In the old days, right? You guys been around the 60s and 70s. In the old days, it was the destruction of Babylon the Great. That was going to happen first. And then that was going to lead into the Great Tribulation. And then the final fact was that they were going to be attacked by, the Gog of Magog was going to attack God's people. It was very clear. But Babylon had to be destroyed first. And then there was going to be the Great Tribulation, then the final phase, the attack on God's people. Well, now they bring you a Gog update back in April, and they talk about the Great Tribulation. They talk about Gog on how it's a coalition of nations. What Gog of Magog is now, according to the Watchtower, is a coalition of nations, a number of nations that are going to attack God's people, Jehovah's Witnesses, and then Armageddon will come. Well, this whole thing is new light. They're not calling it new light, but I'm calling it new light because it's not what they taught in the past. This Jehovah's Witness attack scenario is now been shoved up front. That they got to really put the pressure on the witnesses. They got to show them that they're going to be attacked. Oh, don't you think this is going to keep more witnesses very close and center to Watchtower teaching? So they kind of skipped a couple of phases there. Babylon hasn't been destroyed yet. We haven't seen that happen yet. We haven't seen the Great Tribulation yet. But they're jumping to this attack of Gog of Magog, and they're shoving it up front. They're trying to just muddy the waters here. I mean, for 20 years, there's been a teaching intact, and now they're coming out with this thought. They have it all mixed up. They really have it all mixed up, and it's all in one Watchtower doomsday omelet. That's what I'm saying. It's confusing. The witnesses are just going past supposed Watchtower prophecy, and now they're waiting for Gog of Magog to attack them. The Watchtower goons, they're calling this simpler, clearer teachings. Simpler, clearing teachings, is that what they're calling it? I think it's more confusing than ever. In reality, it's a rat's nest of total confusion and illogical contradictions. It shows Jehovah's Witnesses are totally useless for any critical thinking backed up by real logic. They are on autopilot, and the Watchtower and the governing body can spin the end any way they want to now, and the Jehovah's Witnesses will follow them, just like Jehovah's Witness lemmings that they are now. Isn't that something else? My goodness, I can't believe that. If you have any thoughts on this, you'd like to come in, you'd like to comment here on JW World News, come on in, say hello to us. You're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're talking about it here. And hopefully you guys can come in and talk to us if you like. We got the lines open.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick thought. When I was coming into the cult back in 1970, there was a lot of things that didn't make sense to me, a lot of things I didn't understand. And I would say to myself, well, I'm not, all that smart. I'm only 21, 22 years old. And there's a lot of people in the Watchtower that have to be smarter than me and have been studying the Bible for a lot of years. I would say to the audience, if you don't understand something that the Watchtower was telling you, question it, and you're not going to get satisfying answers because they're all over the map with their doctrine. Thanks, Rick.
Well, there you go, Dick. There you have it. I mean, really, it's amazing. They're able to pull this all off. I mean, you and I, we've been around for a while in the Watchtower, but obviously they're changing a lot of things. And in the Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses are not even paying attention to it. It's just absolutely crazy what's happening.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Mike. You're on with us.
I just had to make a quick comment. You mentioned earlier about that song "Imagine."
Yeah.
With John Lennon. I mean, in my opinion, Rick, I always kind of looked at that as like a Marxist song or communist song. Talk about no religion, no borders, no possessions. Kind of hypocritical coming from a millionaire, but I looked at it as like a communist manifesto or something like that. I don't think, because he specifically says religion, so it's anti-religious and anti-capitalist.
Yeah. Well, isn't that something? No, that's interesting you say that, Mark. But I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
But when did you? I've never heard that theory before.
Oh yeah, that's been floating around for a long time. Yeah, the Witnesses always thought that song. Yeah, they never heard that, huh? But yeah, you wouldn't think that.
I never heard that one. I mean, I heard other. I remember the John Denver thing. He hated John Denver. I thought it was funny, but I don't know. Maybe that was an East Coast witness thing. Sometimes, who knows?
Yeah. Well, anyways,
but real quick, so you mentioned about 1914. Were you saying that they're not speaking about it as much anymore, or just?
No, I examine the Watchtower every week. I mean, all during the year, I examine the Watchtower study articles, and there's not much in there at all. I think all during 2021, I remember maybe once it was mentioned, but it's not mentioned like it used to be. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, it's still their doctrine because that the king that he returned invisibly in 1914. That hasn't changed yet, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
All right, you're on with us, Colorado. Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, there's another example how they have kind of left a teaching of a certain date, or they've changed things. And I'll give you the example of 1935. you may recall that that was supposed to be the time when all the anointed were chosen. It was sealed. 1935. They used to preach that in the 70s and even the 80s. But they don't talk about 1935 anymore, because if you look at the entire governing body, all of the governing body members were born after 1935, except for Sam Hurd, who was born in 1935. And the teaching was that you had to be a loyal servant before the end of 1935, because the 144,000, the number was sealed. So they found themselves trapped. So you don't hear that date as well.
Oh, no, you don't.
Rick?
Yes, Randy.
Great point Joe made. I hadn't thought about that. He made me think of another thing that you don't hear about much anymore, and only us old people is going to even remember it, because they haven't even mentioned this for years, and that is the doctrine that each creative day is 7,000 years long. They've never retracted it, except they just figure they'll ignore it and they'll go away.
Well, that's what the Watchtower hopes. They hope that will happen, Randy. Exactly. Ignore it and it'll go away. Well, thank you guys for commenting. Appreciate that. Back in
One more point?
go ahead, Joe.
Can I just add one more point?
Sure.
The reason I really started looking into that was because when I looked at the article where it's talking about Mark Sanderson, the last, he was the second to the last one picked. He's actually 4 years younger than I am. I was born in 1961. So, and then Kenneth Cook is actually around my age too. So you had a doctrine where they flat out told the rank and file, 1935, Jesus sealed the number. And then they would have an article that every once in a while an anointed person would fall away from the Watchtower, and then Jesus would have to pick somebody else. But that's the reason I looked into that, because there are two governing body members. One is 4 years younger than me, and one is my age, and it just does not make sense. But like you said, if people are not paying attention, the Watchtower could just not speak about it, and then they'll forget about it. And that's what happens.
Well, exactly right. And most witnesses are not paying attention, Joe. They're not paying attention. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we're talking about it here tonight. And I'm glad you're on with us. And we're going to be talking about this.
Good evening, Mr. Thurn.
Yes, Ken, go ahead.
Yes. Want to wish everybody a happy New Year, and I hope they had a Merry Christmas. And I just was listening with interest to these news stories in here in the Watchtower Society's doctrine. Of course, I don't believe in their doctrine. I think it's a hoax and it's phony, like most people on the Six Screens Network know already, and wish they were probably known that a long time ago. But I got a question. They talk about they tell their members that they're protected oh so well by their God and so forth, but then they're afraid of stormtroopers coming in and doing some harm to them. Watchtower, if you're listening, would you please call in the program and explain that to me, because I just don't understand. If their God is protecting them and he's so powerful, and he's capable of killing all these people, but although they're afraid the stormtroopers are going to come and get them. That's don't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't make any sense at all, Ken. Well, thank you for chiming in with us, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, well, keep listening.
All right, there you go. Well, anyways, back in April, I found it very fascinating that I found online Jehovah's Witness Barbie dolls. And, I showed pictures of them. I don't know if I can get a picture up here now or not. Let me try. I'm not sure I can do it, but let's see if we can't get a picture up. Let me see if I can't do that, because you like to see these Barbie dolls. They had a Ken Barbie doll, and they actually had a Barbie doll that was, standing next to a cart, if you can believe that. I don't know if I can get the picture up on YouTube. I'll try. Give me a second and see if we can't do it. But it was quite fascinating that they had these dolls. And I mean, I never saw a Barbie woman, Jehovah's Witness looking woman standing next to a cart like the Barbie doll girl. My goodness, it was amazing. But let's see if we can't get this picture up. I'm not sure we can, that the way things are set up here on YouTube. But let me get into, no, I don't think we can do it. But anyways, they had a number of Barbie dolls standing next to carts. And of course, they had the Barbie doll figures. They had them dressed up in skirts. And I noticed that all the, not skirts, but dresses. I noticed all the dresses were, like, many of them below the knee. I mean, really below the knee. So they're trying to put a message forward, I'm sure. And also, well, they had a Ken doll, a Ken the Elder. And basically, it's funny that this happened because basically it looks like Ken is sexually repressed, and Ken is sold separately than Barbie. These are motionless, emotionalist, expressionless figures standing next to a literature copy. I mean, that's like real life, right? That's exactly how it looks in real life. I wish I could show you the picture, darn it. I just have no way of doing that. I wish I could show you that picture, but I can't. So anyways, we'll let it go at that, I guess. Okay, so let's get back to our news. Let's get to Atlantis. We're still in, we're going to go all the way. We're still in April here, right? May. We're now in May. In fact, we got another letter from Atlantis, and Atlantis brought up that there was another letter concerning disaster preparedness. The witnesses have to be prepared for disaster. That's what's always being brought up in the Jehovah's Witness world, is preparing the witnesses for disaster. It creates fear, right? It creates a situation where, I've got to become stronger because, if a disaster comes, I could be wiped out. So they did have another letter back then in April. And what they were saying back in this letter is to make sure, if you have a go bag, make sure you put your personal protective equipment in the go bag. Your mask, your gloves, your soap, your hand sanitizer. I mean, really making a big deal out of the COVID virus. So they really want you to look at this as being, wow, this COVID virus, this is something that can really create some issues for us. And, we better listen to the guidance from the Watchtower. We better pack this in there. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, because that's something that all during the year 2021, the Witness organization was doing. The governing body was definitely suggesting, wear your mask. And they were paranoid about it. They really, really were making the witnesses feel like you couldn't even go outside. They were telling older witnesses to not even go shopping. Have someone else do your shopping for you. So that I wanted to bring up here tonight too, because that was a big story, a very big story during 2021. Also in May of 2021, we learned about the conventions and how you have to wear a badge for your online convention. Friends, this is insanity. This is insanity. And the organization is reaching what I would call here stratospheric levels of insanity. Well, why would you have to wear a badge? For the love of everything that makes sense, why do you need to wear a badge in your own home watching a pre-recorded program on JW Stream? You don't need a badge. Who's watching you? You're not in a hotel lobby. You're not in elevators. You're not in a stadium. You're not looking at each other. Yes.
Yeah, this is Dan. Yeah, I agree with you. That's total mental illness. I mean, really, all of you wear your badges. All of you, I mean, this is absolute insanity. And you know something, Rick? I've talked to a few people, you know, a few witnesses. I talked to a guy who was a witness the other day. I'm telling you, the only ones left in there, I hate to say it like this, they're not that smart. They're not. I'm sorry. I know a guy that went back. He can't even hardly read. I asked him, I was like, are you writing letters? His name is Chuck. I said, Charlie. I said, are you writing letters? He goes, oh, no, I don't write no letters. And I'm like, do you know what's like going on in there? And they're so out of touch, Rick. I talked to a lady, I think I told you last week, I talked to a lady on the phone for an hour and 40 minutes, and I put it on YouTube. And it was a lady that was like, I mean, all she kept saying over and over, I said, well, they're your mediator, right? Or your medium. I said, she goes, well, I don't like that word medium. I said, well, they're your mediator, right? They're the go-between. She goes, what do you think they have, an internet connection to God? I wanted to knock on her head and say, is anybody home, lady? I mean, yes, they have an internet connection to God. They said, you better listen to us like your life depends on it, because it does. That's what Stephen Lett said. I said, yes. They said they're the mediator. They said they're the faithful slave giving you your food at the proper time. You know, all these false prophecies, you know, that's your spiritual food at the proper time. But Rick, I got to tell you, I've talked to a few people. There's nobody home. There's nobody home. All there is a running program. And what the witnesses do is they just continue to run programs. Fear this, fear that. They grab every damn current event they can get, every current event, every earthquake, every food shortage. You know, now it's COVID. They're never going to let that go. They're going to hold on to COVID till hell freezes over. But they use every current event to keep the program running in these people. But I'm telling you, Rick, I've talked to a few of them. There's nobody home. And there's another guy that I know just died. And he's the one who ran out to the road. I happened to be driving by with Angela a year ago. He's like, Dan, come back to the halls. It's so easy now. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to do this. The meetings are short and it's wonderful. You know, you talk about, you know, this guy saying they all want to get back and get out door to door. This guy was bragging. He's like, Dan, it's so easy now. And I'm like, no, I've left for other reasons. That guy died, Rick. That guy died. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to use his name, but I am going to film his house. And I want to show you what happens to people. And I'm going to put it on YouTube. I'm going to show people what happens when you are in that org a long time. I am going to show the mental illness that starts to take place when you deny reality. Because truth, your show is truth. Our show is the truth. The truth will set you free. But if you stay in denial, you don't get truth. And I thought this the other day. I thought, my God, truth is always trying to call us out of denial. It's always saying, look at this, look at this, look at that, look at this. These guys don't have the ability to look at truth. Well, this guy's house, I'm going to show you what it looks like. He's in a nice neighborhood. His house looks like it's a third world country. The paint's peeled off. The cars are broken down. The windows are broken out. The this and that. The guy comes running out in a suit, you know, telling me about how wonderful Jehovah is. Guess who else's house looked like that? Mine. My house looked like that. It was completely filled with mental illness. My mother was a hoarder. Fleas, bugs, moles, mildew, shit, everywhere. We crawled over a stack of clothes to get into the laundry. I mean, it was horrible. And this guy lived in the same thing. And there's another guy in the same neighborhood living like the same thing. And there's another guy, another brother. They're going to take his house. He was on that where they take over your mortgage. I'm like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. They don't have any ability to think, Rick. They don't have any ability to even survive. So, Rick, it's like the people that have been in a long time, they're really messed up. And they're just, I mean, they don't have an ability to go on. They trust the organization with everything they have. They've been lied to for 40, 50 years. They've been denying that reality, which leads to a split mind. When you deny what's happening with you, when you go into AA or something and they say, dude, you ran over a woman and you did this and you did this, you're an alcoholic. No, I'm not an alcoholic. Don't call me an alcoholic. They're in denial. Well, these witnesses, the thing's falling apart in front of them. they're asking for tithe money. They're selling off their buildings that they dedicate to Jehovah. It just goes on and on. There's a list of truth that's saying, "Come out of her, my people." And when these people deny this stuff, they're denying reality. Reality is screaming, "This is a cult. Get out now," before they ask whatever they're going to ask. Like they said, like you said in your show last week, Rick, they're going to ask things that won't seem practical to you, but we want you to blindly follow. They don't use the word blindly, but they say, "We want you to follow." These people are in real trouble. But I got to tell you, man, the few people I talk to, there's nobody home. I mean, it's like there's nobody home, Rick. I'm talking too long, Rick, but thank you. But it's just devastating to me what this organization does to the mind of people. It takes their mind. And I'm sorry, but when you went in, you gave it to them. You said, "I trust you explicitly." You went to 3 elders. You said, "Hey, you're my mediator. You're the one who hears Jehovah's voice. We don't. Don't read the Bible for yourself." It goes on and on. These people are in real trouble. And the only thing that can help them is a miracle. And it's, "God, help me get out of this thing. Help me get out of this mind control. I'm in big trouble." That's it, Rick. Thank you.
Well, good comment, Dan. Really is a good comment. But, in fact, it is idiotic. The term would be idiotic, wearing a badge, a convention badge in your home. Nobody's around. You're not in a hotel lobby. You're not in an elevator. You're not in a stadium. No one's looking at you. Why do you need the badge? That is idiotic. And, the definition.
Let me get this straight, Rick. You're saying that badges are mandatory, but pants are optional?
I guess that's what you'd say, Randy. Yeah. I mean, a lot of those, they're not wearing pants. I mean, maybe they're underwear, a leisure pants, but they put their tie on and they sit there on their Zoom meetings. But, the definition of idiotic, do you know what it is? The definition is an utterly foolish or senseless person. That's the Watchtower. That's the Jehovah's Witnesses. Utterly foolish.
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
Could I tell a story? What happened to me with my badge, or when I went to the assembly, it was after I had kind of trying to come back, and I had been doing whatever they were telling me to do, and it seemed like everything was fine, and I went to the assembly, and for some reason they never gave me a badge. And so when I was in the assembly, I asked the brother, could I get a badge? And it was just like a brother in the back, because I went to the table or something. And it was so weird. They act like this big deal, and they went. And I mean, it was like embarrassing, because all of a sudden they went to my elder, and then they were talking for a while, and they made it like this production. And for some reason, I don't know why, there was nothing that I could think of why they wouldn't do it, but they didn't give it to me. And I don't know why. There was nothing that could have been. It was just that they had, I know one thing is, when I moved there, I had moved from where I was before, and my records had gotten lost, but supposedly they had found them by then. But it's just really weird that they made it a huge, embarrassing ordeal, to the point I was almost in tears by the time I got out of there. I just ended up having to give up and go sit down, and it was embarrassing.
I mean, just to get a badge. I mean, did they consider you inactive, or did they consider you not?
Well, I wasn't now. I mean, I had, it seemed like everything was fine, but I think it had been a year or something. I don't know. And so it was supposedly okay, everything's good, but then when I went to the assembly, they acted like I was some kind of spy. I don't know.
Well, that is nuts.
Would not issue me one.
Well, I could see that could create a lot.
I wanted to cry.
Well, that could create a lot of stress. Now, you calling in for the first time?
No, it's the third time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in. And I really appreciate what you had to say, because even a little badge, they can make a monumental issue over that. And look at the stress it caused you. You didn't need to go through that
Yeah,
stress.
lots of brothers standing and asking, and it was just, it made a spectacle. It was humiliating. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to get that out.
Well, I'm glad you got it out, because I mean that would be that would stress people out, because you think, why aren't they giving me the badge? Am I a bad person? Do they know something I don't know? What's going on here? You know, that's not right what they did to you, sister. Thank you for checking in. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
It
Yeah.
was right after the 20s. It was when they had the Return to Jehovah whole big deal. I want to say 2016, but maybe not, maybe sooner. But it was when they were trying to get everyone back, you know, and they had like this busher with I think Jesus with the sheep on it. So it was like this big thing to get everyone back. And then look how they treated me really badly then. They also changed whatever they told me to do to get back. They made it harder and harder. Like they changed what the elders had said. Another elder came in and changed it up, so they didn't even follow their rules. It was really. I woke up.
Well, good for you.
From that.
Well, I'm glad you woke up. See that even a silly little thing like the badge can wake a person up. Thank you, sister. Thank you for checking in. There you go. Oh my goodness. I mean, can you imagine that? My goodness, wouldn't even give the poor sister a badge. I mean, what would you do? You feel like, what did I do? I need a badge. I want my badge. Wouldn't give it to you. Okay, go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead.
Hello, Rick. This is Betty calling from Vancouver Island, Canada.
Well, Betty, it's always good to hear from you. Now, don't you hesitate to speak up on what's on your mind here tonight.
All right. First, I want to thank Dan and Angela, because Dan made the most amazing comment previously about how Jehovah's Witnesses are not in reality. They have a lot of mental illness. They're so deeply indoctrinated that they cannot think. So I verify everything Dan said. And he does have a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of his channel. Do you remember the name of it?
It's Life After Religion.
Yeah, okay. Yes, so people should check that out. Okay, so I got a couple of things to say. First of all, I want to verify your email. 6 screens of Watchtower at, what is it, Gmail?
No, in fact, it's jwworldnews at gmail.com. jwworldnews at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's why I wanted to verify that your email. I need to get in contact with an XJW, and your public forum just might be the ticket. I just found out that a circuit servant has woken up. He used to be my circuit servant from 20 years ago. I'm going to say his name, going out on a limb here, Grant Sonmore. And he was serving Vancouver Island, Canada. Grant Sonmore, he was a circuit servant, and he has woken up. I want to contact him. So if there's anyone out there, or if it's Grant listening, please email to you, Rick Fearon. I will then email to Rick Fearon, and I'll ask you, Rick, to connect the two of us together. Is that okay with you?
Oh, I'd be glad to do that. In fact, are you listening on here? Grant, is that his first name, Grant?
Yes. He's elderly. I don't know, even if he's still alive, because he has to be in his late 70s or perhaps early 80s.
Well, let's put a shout out. I mean, we have a lot of people listening in, thousands of people from all over the world. Are you out there, Grant? Are you listening into our program tonight? If you are, speak up. Or if you don't want to speak up, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. Well, Betty, that is an interesting story. My goodness, that's remarkable. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, I want to get together with him and find out if he kept his faith. As you know, every time I call in, I do encourage people to keep their faith, and that what's happening with Watchtower is you can even read scriptures from their own Bible, which verify that Christ warned this would happen. And so I've got a couple of scriptures I'd like to read. Matthew chapter 15, and I'm going to read 12 to 14. Then the disciples came and said to him, "Do you know that the Pharisees were stumbled at hearing what you said?" In reply, Jesus said, "Every plant that my heavenly Father did not plant will be uprooted. Let them be. Blind guides is what they are. If then a blind guide guides a blind man, both will fall into a pit." So this is what's happening with Watchtower, blind guides. So now let's turn to one more scripture, and hope you don't mind me using the script, this opportunity to read the scriptures.
Well, sometimes we have to read a scripture to identify them as false organizations. So go ahead, read the scripture.
Okay, now we're going to read Matthew chapter 23 and verse 13. Again, these are Jesus' words. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees." Let's just rewrite that. "Woe to you, elders and governing bodies, hypocrites, because you shut up the kingdom of the heavens before men. For you yourselves do not go in, neither do you permit those on their way in to go in." This is what Watchtower has done. It's a tool of Satan. It's stopping people from being saved and stopping people from turning to Christ. It's only Christ for our salvation. John 14:6.
All right, we're gonna stop you there, Betty. We can't get into too many scriptures here tonight. We do that on Sunday. Why don't you come in on Sunday? We get into spiritual discussion. So that'd be wonderful. I'm a Christian man too, and I love to hear scriptures. But when people on the program here on Saturday night hear it, they run for the mountains. They don't like it. So I like it, but why don't you check in with us on a Sunday? We have our spiritual discussions on Sunday, beginning tomorrow at 1:00. So why don't you do that? Come in tomorrow.
Okay, can I use the same phone number?
Same phone number. Come in because we have a spiritual discussion. Try it out tomorrow. We have a great program. We have great. We don't deal with theological differences here generally on Saturday night. We do it on Sunday. It's all about in fact, we have a man that does a program. He's a former writer for the Jehovah's Witness organization. He was in the writing department. He comes on, does a program at 4, but we start tomorrow at 1:00, 6 Screen Sunday. So give that a shot, Betty, okay?
Yes, thank you so much. And please, anyone out there that knows where Grant Fonmore is, or if he's still alive, I would like to get in contact with him. So I'll be emailing you, Rick, so that you can forward any information to me.
Very good. Thank you, Betty. You're a wonderful lady. Don't you ever change. Thank you very much.
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
All righty. There you go.
Bye.
There we go. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Rick, I wanted to share a quick experience that kind of illustrates that this is not, it's systemic. The woman that commented about asking for a identification badge at a convention, and she didn't, evidently they made a fuss about it. They kind of humiliated her. You know, that happens a lot. I'm going to give you one quick example. We were having the so-called memorial. Of course, it's a black mass, but I was one of the attendants, and I remember an individual coming in. He had been reinstated. I mean, he was reinstated, and he just wanted to help out because we were setting chairs up. And an elder went up to him and told him he was not qualified. And I was shocked because what is the deal? He wanted to help set up some chairs, but it's like certain elders feel that they need to humiliate people, and it's bad enough that they do it with the judicial process, but then when a person even comes back into the organization or the cult, some elders, not all, but they will use that opportunity to humiliate them. And I've seen that numerous times. So I just wanted to add that to the individual's comment, that that's not something that's new. There are some elders that will take every opportunity to knock a person down because they perceive they have that so-called authority.
Well, good comment. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so we're going to move on here with the news. We've got more stories to talk about. We're talking about the top stories in the Watchtower for 2021. And we're glad you're with us. My goodness, stay with us. We've got more programming tonight. We got Reece coming up from the belly of the beast. He'll be coming up with his conspiracies in the Watchtower. He'll be coming up at 9:30 tonight, about 45 minutes from now. But let's take a look at another story going back to May 2021. The United States has an announcement. The announcement was sent to me by my friend Atlantis, insider at the Watchtower. And he says that the Watchtower is now looking for donations of trailers and RVs. He's saying that maybe he didn't say this, but I'm thinking, why are they asking for RVs and trailers? I believe this is for the Ramapo video studio that they're projecting to build up in Ramapo, New York. And I think they want these as places for the people, the workers, to stay in. Now, the Watchtower is asking for these RVs and trailers no older than a 2005 model. They have to be in perfect condition. The Watchtower doesn't deserve anything, really. They're always asking for something at the expense of the brothers and sisters. This cult seems to beg for anything and everything. Your cash. Now they want your tent, trailer. They want anything they can get from you. I think it's disgusting, but I think it has to do with their building the Ramapo video studio up there, that mega center. I believe that's why they want it. So that story came out way back in May. And then another story in May that really got me thinking an awful lot. Back in May 2021, there was mention of a Kingdom Hall parking lot vaccination site. Can you imagine that? A Kingdom Hall being used for a vaccination site? It was in Riverside, California. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it. I'm thinking, what is the Watchtower doing? They're going crazy. Actually, the congregation that was involved, that was in Riverside, California, they allowed their parking lot to be the site for a general public vaccination site. Now, can you imagine that? I can't. I had a hard time until a woman sent me some information that it was true. As a matter of fact, see, what I found as well when I started looking into vaccination sites, I found that FEMA, the federal organization that supplies funding for these sites, they supply funding for the material, the facilities, the staffing, etc. And they want approximately 250 vaccinations a day. So I'm thinking here the Jehovah's Witnesses made some money on this. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are making money on encouraging witnesses to get the vaccination during 2021 as well. Yeah, I really do. I found online that religious organizations are being paid upwards of $100 a head for people that they get vaccinated. So run the numbers. If you have 1.5 million witnesses in America, never mind worldwide, but just go to America, times 100, you're talking some serious money, over $100 million. right? So think about it. So,
Can I
yeah,
put in a comment?
yeah, go ahead.
I have done some research about, well, I don't know, just a lot of things going on now, and there's such a thing that I think FEMA did called the Clergy Response Team, and so what they did is get a bunch of, I think it's NGO, religion churches that they have this clergy response that they have to give the names of their parishioners, and so pretty much they are working with FEMA to do whatever they want them to do. So I don't know if they get paid, but I think they might be getting paid to do it, but apparently they are being told what they're supposed to do, and it's probably not going to be good. But like if let's say martial law comes in or something like that, then whatever religious clergy is supposed to do what FEMA says, which and to use Romans, what is it, 6? I can't remember now. Use that, to give Caesar's things to Caesar is the excuse they're supposed to give to the parishioners. And well, anyway, so I think this isn't a good thing at all, but it's supposedly, I think it's for the Agenda 21 stuff, but there was some kind of a documented proof, but I right now don't know where it is, but people might want to look into Clergy Response Team. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much for coming in and telling us that. So when you stop and think about it, if they're making money on these vaccination tables and encouraging people to come in and get a vaccination at a Kingdom Hall, what would Jesus do? I mean, Jesus would flip the table over, saying, "Stop playing with money." So, it's not a money-making proposition. Jehovah's Witnesses are not supposed to be a money-making proposition. So let's move on here. We got a lot to discuss here, friends. I'd like to get to your thoughts on here, but I really can't. We got so many stories to discuss here tonight. I think about the Kingdom Hall being opened up for a vaccination center. I mean, when I think about it, aren't they supposed to not be any part of the world? That's being part of the world, isn't it? So that's my thoughts on it. But I can tell you one thing. They probably, in that vaccination parking lot at the Kingdom Hall, they probably had carts, literature on the carts every 10 feet from the cars coming through. I'm sure they took a lot of advantage of it in making money as well. In May, the Watchtower reported 17,000 deaths due to coronavirus. The numbers are going up here during the year. So 17,000 deaths back then. So that's an amazing thing. You're going to be asking yourself, why are so many people dying in the Watchtower? I mean, didn't Jehovah God, didn't he see this coming? Wouldn't he be able to, work with the witnesses here and stop them from dying? Wouldn't he be able to shut the pandemic down? Because, this really affects the preaching work. Jehovah is the one responsible for the preaching work. He's got the chariot that's supposedly going forward with the preaching work, but it seems to be shut down here during the coronavirus pandemic. Why would God allow that? These are things that I think about, and maybe you're thinking about it too. But where is Jehovah when it comes to that? Well, let's move up. We got another story in May. The Mega Studio, the Jehovah's Witness Mega Studio up in Ramapo, New York. Well, they had the officials, they wanted people to come into their board meeting, and they wanted people to be able to come in and voice their opinions on whether they, if there's any problem for the area for Jehovah's Witnesses what impact would it have by creating this movie studio, this video studio, mega studio, 242 acres in Orange County, Tuxedo. I'd play the video. Maybe you should play the video. I actually, what I did is, what the Watchtower did is they put on their website, was it, or they put it out in the news media, that if anybody had a question about the media center being built, that you could come in May, I believe it was May 26, you could come in and you could voice your thoughts on it. So I wrote to the town board in Ramapo, and I told them that I'd like to come in and voice my opinions on this Ramapo movie video center. And I said, I have some things to say about it. So they said, fine. They sent me a link to their Zoom meeting. So I went into the Zoom meeting on May 26th. I'm going to get it up here. I want you to hear it. I think you're going to find it very, very fascinating. And let's check it out here. Let me just see where it would be. Just let me share it here for you guys. I want you to hear me. You're going to see me live here. Well, back then it was live. Now it was on tape. But I want you to see this. And it's me going into the planning board and asking questions about the Ramapo movie studio. So let me just see where that is so I can get it up here. Okay, planning board hearing. We're going to get it up right here. We're going to share it. Let me just see if we got that right on YouTube. All right. We do have it. So we're going to share this right now. I want you to hear it, because I think you're going to find it very, very fascinating. I came in fact, let me see when I came in. Okay, 39. In fact, I came in, the meeting went on and on and on. I came in about 39 minutes. Let me just fast forward to that. I came in about 39 minutes. I want you to hear what I had to say. What I had to say concerning the Watchtower and in coming into this and building this movie studio. So let's listen in. I know you'll find it interesting. Let's listen in right now.
Facilities and open channel drive wells, all of which are described in the DEIS. The DEIS includes an extensive analysis of visual resources and community character, which I will go over more shortly.
We'll come in shortly.
As documented in the DEIS, the proposed action is not anticipated.
That's just a woman talking, and they're getting ready to answer my question. So just stay with me and you'll hear them.
Similarly sized Watchtower facilities elsewhere in New York State generate very few calls for service and at a rate significantly lower than the general population. As mentioned earlier, there would be no school-age children on the project site, and there are extensive on-site recreational resources.
Oh, let me just move forward here, friends. Hold on one second. I'm just gonna move forward. It shows me in the meeting. This is the meeting. I was on Facebook at the time. So let's fast forward to where they asked me what I think about the Ramapo video, a studio. So let's go up to 39. Let's go in 39. Okay, let's go right here. I mean, they went on and on for a good part of an hour before I had a chance to talk. But then they invited me in, and they gave me the YouTube. They gave me the Zoom meeting password and all of that. So let's go in right here. Just listen right here. Let's start here. That's when I come in, and let's see what I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman Weiss. Any other board members? If not, I'm here to open this up to public comment. We have 4 people that did register in advance, so we'll call those in order, and then we'll open it up to the public that are here. First person that I'll ask if they wish to speak is Rick Huron.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wanted to come in here tonight. I am from the neighboring state of Massachusetts, and I love the area you folks have up there. It's beautiful. I've been up there a number of times. And
this meeting is being recorded.
To the panelists. This is very good. If we could just unmute Mr. Huron.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Or I think you might have to unmute himself. Okay. There you go.
All right. Well, I'm coming in here tonight. I want to let you know I'm coming in from the neighboring state of Massachusetts.
And I'm so glad to be able to speak up on your forum tonight. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to the people of Orange County and Ramapo, and as well as Rockland County. I'm here tonight not to talk about the environmental impact. I know you folks got that down pat, you've got engineers studying it. But I'm here tonight in an effort to alert the neighbors of the Watchtower proposed complex. I want the neighbors to be do they really know who the Jehovah's Witnesses are?
Mr. Supervisor, I'm going to object to that kind of input. We are here for DEIS and for comments on the DEIS.
Sir, I'm concerned about the neighbors. You have
Hold on a moment, Mr. Bureau. I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Lithgow, to weigh in. I believe I would tend to agree with Mr. Manuel, but we will be guided by your advice to us.
I agree that this is not part of the environmental impact hearing. This is information which is Mr. Farron's perspective on the Watchtower folks. And it's not something that's within the subject of this hearing.
I just thank you, Mr. Lithgow. Mr. Huron and anyone else who wishes to speak on a similar subject, you're very welcome to speak on the issues that are before us tonight. But as our attorney has said, anything.
Well, there you go. They shut me down.
Would be inappropriate to this forum. It's not what's before us. It's not something that we have any legitimate government.
Well, they shut me down. I mean, I came in. That was back in May, and I wanted to object. To the commission, to the town of Ramapo, about building a studio. I wanted them to know the cover-ups in the Watchtower. They wouldn't let me go that far. I wanted them to know how dangerous and destructive the Watchtower is in breaking families up. I wanted them to know about the pedophilia problem. Do they want to be known as the pedophile capital of the world? I mean, that's what I wanted them to know, but they shut me right down. And then there was another witness, too, that came on after me, and he had similar thoughts, but they shut him down, too. So the next day, I was so mad, I was so disturbed that they wouldn't let me speak up that I called the Ramapo town office up in Ramapo, New York, and I talked to a legal official. I believe she was a lawyer. And I said, well, who was that man that came in and shut me down? Was he a lawyer for the Watchtower? And she didn't know. She didn't know if this man was a lawyer for the Watchtower or what, but more than likely he was. And anyone that was voicing any negative, critical thoughts about the mega studio was immediately shut down. So what are you going to do? I mean, do you fight City Hall? But I tried. And I mean, really, if that goes forward, which it looks like it may, it's very despicable and very discouraging. So that was my little 15 minutes of fame back there in May.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
Hey, good job you did there, trying to, break into that, because all I could say, and this, those people are going to be real sorry in Ramapo, because witnesses are known not to spend any money. They operate like a cult. I talked to some publishers when I was publishing my book in Brooklyn, New York, and they said, we can't stand them. And I said, why? They're good people. He goes, they don't spend anything. They don't buy anything. They're here. And so you're going to have this big cult den out there, a big den of a cult out in the middle of the woods, and you're not going to know what the hell's going on. And you tried to tell them. You tried to say, this is a cult. But I mean, I think I would be scared if I was in Ramapo, and these people are coming in and out. They're using their roads. They're not really shopping. I don't know if they're going to grow their own food like they did up there, but it's so self-contained. I think I would be freaking out. And then they're going to try to be proselytizing your family. Well, good shot, Rick. Good shot at giving it a shot. But man, like we've heard tonight, like you just said, they're policing, man. They're policing. They shut you down fast. I mean, they shut you down fast. I listened to it, and I'm like, you couldn't even get a couple sentences in. And they just mowed it right down. But anyway, good shot, Rick. You're trying,
Hey, that's all we can do is try. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. So, reviewing the news, we're looking back in June 2021. Robert Hendricks. Wow, he's a Watchtower official. They're using him a lot. I brought his name up a lot in 2021 on JW World News. He's doing these puff pieces. Well, you say, well, what's a puff piece? Well, a puff piece is they're pandering into some of these local news stations in New Orleans, in Idaho, in Wisconsin, some of these news stations, and they're either paying the news station to have an infomercial, or they're, because the news station is so slow, they're listening to what the witnesses have to say. I'm not going to play it here tonight. We don't have time, but I brought it up all during this year, that 2021, that Hendricks is being used a lot by the Watchtower. He is a typical Jehovah's Witness. He's got the look. He looks like a Jehovah's Witness. He's very sinister looking, and they're using him. He's a Watchtower snake, but they're using him to come in and trying to put the message across that the witness is doing so great during COVID. And even though they had to do everything online and write letters, the witnesses are so unhappy they can't meet because of COVID. This is all a bunch of baloney. But the Watchtower is getting a lot of press, whether it's free or whether it's paid for. You'll have to be the judge. And then also, I got another story here I want to deal with in June as well. The Supreme Court. Now, this was a big story back in June 2021. The Utah Supreme Court has revived a religious freedom dispute, instructing an Ogden court to take another look at a suit filed by a woman who alleged Jehovah's Witness leaders in Roy, Oregon, in Roy, Utah, subjected her to humiliating discipline as a teenager after she accused a fellow church member of rape. You might remember this story. This was one of the biggest stories in 2021. This woman who accused the Jehovah's Witnesses of having a person rape, a Jehovah's Witness man rape her, she inflicted emotional distress. Why? Well, because they brought her into a judicial committee hearing. And you guys probably remember this. And in that hearing, she had to hear someone recorded the rape that she went through. And so she had to hear this for a good part of 4 hours during her judicial committee hearing. And they explicitly asked her questions regarding what took place. They stopped the tape. Did you do this? Did you do that? And this was so upsetting to the poor woman. Upon hearing the recording in the commission, in the judicial committee, the woman cried, she trembled, she pleaded with the elders to stop them from reliving her scary experiences. So, this causes so much stress. So in Utah, back then in May, the Jehovah's Witnesses, sad to say, they won. They won the suit. Why? Because the Supreme Court in Utah, they kind of deemed that, this is a First Amendment right. And the Jehovah's Witnesses have the right to handle it, no matter how they do it, in their own tribunal. So that created a lot of problems. And now just today, I'll get more into it. In fact, I might as well tell you right now that the court today overturned it. They're now going to look into this poor woman who had to listen to her own rape in a judicial committee hearing. The court just today, I learned today, it was overturned. And the Supreme Court in Utah is now going to take another look at this. They're not going to just allow the witnesses to escape this. They said, even though it's a First Amendment right, you can't get away with this. This is just too much. And this is how the Watchtower has been able to get away with a lot of lawsuits. It's because of their First Amendment right. So this is good news. This is good news. And then, of course, in June, we also learned, June 2021, that thousands of Jehovah's Witnesses in their language groups, remember, during the, 2000 to 2021, they were setting up these congregations of language groups, and they were teaching Jehovah's Witnesses different languages so they could start different congregations. Well, they dissolved that. They're no longer going to do that. It wasn't working. And according to Tony Morris, governing body member, they dissolved it because of a lack of studies and baptisms. In other words, they were willing to go out, train the witnesses a different language. If you were English speaking, they'd send you to a Chinese congregation, learn the Chinese language, go out and try to convert Chinese people, but it wasn't working. So they dropped it. Back in June, they dropped this idea of you learning a different language to go to another congregation. In July, the Vice Versa Crusaders, that is, movie, the video came out all about Jehovah's Witnesses. Do you remember that? Well, I remember it. As a matter of fact, the director, he was actually a Jehovah's Witness himself when he was a young man, and he wanted to speak about the sexual cover-ups in the Watchtower and also about all the claims. So back in July, Vice Versa, this Crusader documentary came out. It was on national television on the cable channels. And he talked about how he was raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and he wanted to do a video all about it. They did an excellent job at attacking the policies without attacking the people. This is the way to help people wake up and leave. I was very impressed by this Vice Versa video. It was amazing. It was on television. I watched it. My wife and I watched it. It was the best video I believe I've seen concerning the Jehovah's Witnesses. And you might remember Mark O'Donnell was in this. He goes by the name John Redwood as well, and he works along with Lloyd Evans. But he was in it along with his wife, Kimmy. And boy, what they had to say, and what Kimmy, the wife, had to say about the Watchtower when she was growing up, it was terrible in the bad treatment she has as a young witness. It was a great, great documentary, and it was on Vice Versa. Look it up. It's still on there. Vice Versa Network Crusaders. Check it out. You'll really find it fascinating. All right, Powerful by Faith. That was the theme for the convention in 2021. Powerful by Faith. Well, they had many Bible dramas, as they usually do. And one of the things that caught my attention, the Bible dramas, boy, it was concerning the Daniel story in the Bible. It was a 2-part drama presented on Saturday and Sunday. And boy, I'll tell you what, it was showing how witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses, would react to temptations and to ridicule. Of course, they always show these young witnesses and how they're tempted to do certain things and why they wouldn't do it. But, they also they really highlighted during this Powerful by Faith convention, to stay away from apostates and to stay away from the news media, because it's all a bunch of lies. So, people come away from that convention, they feel all built up. Oh, this is wonderful. Powerful by Faith 2021 convention. We talk about that. Also, we learn in July 2021 that the merging of congregations and selling of kingdom halls has become a cause for concern. Many all the top stories in the Watchtower for the year 2021. Well, let's take a look here. Let's see what the next story would be. We got to go to July. And do you remember Splain? In fact, that's when the Splain talk came out. That was the talk all about the news media and how that's David Splain's talk. He was a governing body. He is a governing body member. And he brought out on JW Broadcasting that, don't listen to reports from the news media. You're going to hear things that are not truthful, and don't get on apostate websites. You're going to hear things that are not truthful at all. And he ranted and he went on and on and on for a good 25 minutes on how bad it is to listen to the news media. I think there's something big coming down the pike. I really do. I believe maybe in 2022 that we're going to see some criminal charges against the Watchtower, just extracting what Splain had to talk in this rant about, don't believe everything you hear. And even if it's a court case, sometimes you can't even believe that because it's slanted. So they're getting ready to, I believe, perhaps be hauled into court. And Splain is kind of telling you before they tell you, don't be shook up by this, because, even he mentioned Jesus was brought up on tradition charges, remember? But he was saying that wasn't true. They were making all kinds of charges against Jesus that weren't true. And he was using that as a way to explain to Jehovah's Witnesses that, you're going to hear many charges, but don't believe them. Something's coming down the pike. I'm looking forward to 2022. Maybe we'll hear it. All right, let's see what else.
Rick,
yes.
That Utah case, if their Supreme Court statewide can't figure out how to rule on it regarding First Amendment, those are the kinds of cases that the U.S. Supreme Court then puts on their stack.
Well, you're right. You're right, Pixie. So
that could have implications even if the Utah Supreme Court is confused as to how that fits with the First Amendment, those kangaroo courts, the religions having their own tribunal. That could, in future, it could take a couple years, but that could get to the top.
Well, that could be one of the biggest stories of 2021. I agree with you. That could create.
I'd like to see those kangaroo courts end.
That could create some serious issues for the Watchtower. Thank you. Thank you very much for bringing that up. In August, we got some more reminders from our friend Atlantis. He brought up that the Watchtower is in need of attorneys and paralegals. They need more help at the Watchtower. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, the Watchtower tells you not to get higher education, but here they're looking for attorneys. I mean, how many attorneys are there? You can't be an attorney without being educated. So they're looking for educated, highly educated attorneys and paralegals needed, spiritually qualified, licensed attorneys and paralegals to do much to accomplish the work at Bethel. Well, because they're being sued. Well, why do you think they're looking for these people? Because they're being sued. That's the reason. So, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, aren't they? First of all, they tell you don't go to school, don't get an education, but at the same time, they're looking for attorneys. Yeah, now the other thing I want to bring up tonight, the Watchtower Pyramid back in August, it was vandalized. Yeah, we brought that up on JW World News. The pyramid at the Rosemount Cemetery outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That was Charles Taze Russell's burial site. Well, it was vandalized. The pyramid monument that is right there in that cemetery was vandalizing. Russell had a real fascination with heathen Egyptian and Masonic images. And, that's always been kind of in evidence with that pyramid right there at the cemetery. So I wanted to bring that up tonight. But also there's more news as we go on about that pyramid. We're going to bring you a video clip that you want to hear as well. But anyways, it was vandalized back in August. And now we have, in September, we have another lawsuit claiming the governing body member did nothing but abuse her. Now, this is big. This is one of the biggest stories of 2021. This, I have to say, I found this one of big interest to me because I think this could really create some monumental issues for the Watchtower. The Child Victims Act in New York concerning those that have been abused in the Watchtower. Watchtower in New York. Well, the New York State Attorney's Office has 29 known cases of child sex victims in the Watchtower. Now, this woman who came out just back in September, she's claiming the governing body did her very little justice. She's the plaintiff, and she raised a story, and it's now going to go to court. The story is that she was attending Bethel. Her mother and father were Jehovah's Witnesses. They lived in Arizona, but they would come to Bethel, live there 6 months out of the year, then go back to Arizona. But she had a stepfather, and the stepfather evidently was quite good at video production, so the Watchtower needed him. So they would call him in every 6 months to come and work at Bethel, and he would help the video department produce videos. But little did they realize, I guess it was brought to their attention, but little did they know that the daughter, the stepdaughter of this man, William Briggs, Brother Briggs, well, he was actually abusing the stepdaughter. And she's the one now that is the plaintiff. And this took place for many years, 10 to 16 years of her suffering horrific sexual abuse by her stepfather, Jehovah's Witness Briggs. But I'll cut to the chase here. She brought it to the attention of many governing body members, not many, but a couple at least. And they just kind of discounted it. And they said they'd take care of it, but they never did. So consequently, this went on and on and on. And she kept going to different officials of the Watchtower and say, hey, look, I'm being abused in my room at Bethel. My stepfather's abusing me. My mother's drunk. The mother was a drunken alcoholic, and she'd just kind of zone out. And the stepfather would just totally abuse this young sister. So she went to various people in the Watchtower, and to no avail, she got no attention. So she filed a suit. And now she's going to be represented by the Zalkin law firm. So that's good, right? Those guys are good. And hopefully we're going to see some justice for this young lady. This could be big because governing body members are named as covering up the suit. I would say I'm going to go with this as the biggest story of the year in the Jehovah's Witness organization. I really am, because this could bring really big time problems to the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we mentioned that on JW World News back in September. But I'm going with this as the biggest story of the year. This could be big. They're going to have to answer for this. And Zalkin has already summoned the governing body members into court. So let's see if they follow through and show up. We'll report more as we go along here on JW World News. Well, you're with us.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hi, Betty calling again.
Yes, Betty.
I just thought I would comment on the Russell Pyramid, which you said was vandalized, but I got a different story from a different source. Apparently, it was dismantled because it was so old, the mortar that held the triangular-shaped cement pieces together was disintegrating because it was just ancient. And it was becoming dangerous because if someone was to lean on that or climb on it, like, you know how children climb, a child climbed on that, and if it fell in and a child got crushed from these cement slabs that were making the shape of a pyramid, well, then somebody's going to be held liable. So the information I got was Watchtower dismantled it themselves, or perhaps the Freemasons dismantled it. Since it was a Freemason pyramid, And it was on Freemason property with a giant Freemason hall in the background. So I don't think it was vandalized, but we may have to verify one story or the other.
Oh, well, right. That's good, Betty, you bring that up. Yeah, and then we're going to even show a little video here. It was taken down. It was taken down a few months later. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But yeah, yeah. So thank you for checking in with us, Betty, once again, and giving us the information on that. We appreciate it. So yeah, there's a lot here. We can't cover it all. We get so many things. I mean, we only had a couple hours to do it, but we got so many things we could still do. So let's just move on here. I mean, I gotta leave some of these stories behind. I'm just gonna go with the ones that really got the most attention. Then maybe next week we can cover some more. Of course, the annual meeting, that was something else too. New light was revealed by Brother Hurd. Brother Hurd, I mean, you heard the talk. We played it here on JW World News. He was saying that, you know, all the anointed are going to, this is new light now, friends. This is new light for 2021. Brother Hurd was saying that all the anointed are going to be taken to heaven. That's what you call rapture. But he didn't use the word rapture, but they're going to be taken to heaven. And they will now participate in the executional forces of Jesus. They're going to come back with Jesus and kill all of the people that are not Jehovah's Witnesses. So he talked about that at the annual meeting. That's new light. I mean, back in 2015, they were preaching that the governing body was going to be left here on earth so they could help the elders after Armageddon arrange things and get things in order. But now we learn the governing body is going to be taken out of here. They're going to be raptured before this happens. Why that's happening, I don't know. I think they got a scheme going. And next week we'll talk more about it. I can get into more depth, but we can't do it here right now. But let's move on. Let's see what else is of importance here. Well, the annual meeting, I'm just going to go with that. That's the new light. I think that's all we have to discuss is Brother Hurd bringing this up. So let's see what else we got here. Okay. Just skimming down. We're going to bring more up next week here because I can't get to all of it because we're being short on time here. But is the governing body saying goodbye? That's what I'm thinking. Is the governing body saying that, you know, they're all going to be out of here, and is there going to be any governing body left? So they're going to be gone. Are they saying goodbye? Is it that they want to step out of the limelight? They're already beginning to assign replacements for themselves because they're all going to be going to heaven to be with Jesus. So I don't know. I don't know what really they have up their sleeve, but only time will tell. So let's see what else we got here. I just want to go down here. I want to do this. We got so many things that we want to talk about, but I can't. But I want to go down here to the. I think one of the things. Remember, even in fact, one thing I want to bring up in November that we talked about was Frederick Cecil McLean. Well, he was a Jehovah's Witness that was a pedophile. Remember him? He was on America's Most Wanted. Well, he was found dead in South Carolina. That was back in November. They finally did find him, but he was found dead in South Carolina. Let's move down here and see what else we have here. I want to get to this. I want you to hear the video because I think one of the biggest stories was a pyramid. For 2021, the pyramid that is now taken down. And the Watchtower took it down. So let's see if we can find that story. I want to share it with you. We have a video here. I forget what month it was in, but let's see if we can find it. Let me just scroll down here. Any thoughts at all before we bring a new video on about the pyramid? Any thoughts at all? Come on in and say hello to us. We got a lot of things. Boy, I've been going over this stuff for the last couple of days and trying to find out the biggest stories in the Watchtower. We'll talk more about this next week.
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
I was thinking about when you're telling the story about them discontinuing their language program, teaching them new languages. I remember a young sister, she's probably in her 20s, and she was learning the sign language, American Sign Language, so that she could work with them. And she said, and this was on the assembly program, she says, without Jehovah's help, she couldn't have learned it. So she was giving the Holy Spirit all the credit for her learning this sign language. Well, I know that's not true, but if it was even half true, what happened to Jehovah's Spirit to help them to make it a success?
Well, that's a good thought, Larry. I mean, I'm with you with that. My goodness gracious, huh? Let's go here. Yeah.
Yeah, just something on the pyramids. It would seem to me if the mortar was being disintegrating, that they could find a way to lift the different sections of that pyramid up and out, maybe with a forklift or something, and remortar it and put it back down. But I think it's causing the Jehovah's Witnesses a lot of embarrassment. It's probably the reason why it'll be taken down and never put up again. Just a guess.
Well, it's a good guess, Dick. I mean, I know they don't want it there. They certainly don't want it there. So I do believe it's something they're glad that it happened. It started deteriorating, so they took it down. So let's. I'm going to play a clip here. We're going to go back and listen to what happened here back in, I believe it was October, that the Watchtower pyramid was removed. Let's listen in. Let's hear what they have to say. Okay, hold on.
Welcome back to Watchtower History. We've got an update on the monument. We've asked our friend Timothy, one of our viewers, who's the one who actually has been taking the photos that everyone has seen for the last couple of days. We appreciate that you're on here. And I'll tell you, first of all, what I know that I've learned in recent days is that it's actually been Watchtower members that have been maintaining the monument and the grave over the last several years. So when it was vandalized in the past, it was Watchtower members who had it fixed. They also, when Russell's grave was vandalized itself, they would replace the photos and took care of that. They also took care of reinscribing the names on the side of the monument in recent years. And with the new vandalism, with it being cracked open and in danger of falling and collapsing, with Watchtower owning this, it's possible that there would be a potential lawsuit there if someone happened to get hurt, if it should fall on them. So something had to be done. It either had to be fixed or corrected. And
well, see, that's what I'm thinking too, is, the vandalism that happened a couple of months earlier might have been caused deliberately, so the Watchtower could have a good excuse for taking that pyramid down, because that thing has been an ugly thing and nothing but problems for the Watchtower for many, many, many years. Well, folks, I have to kind of end it there tonight. We have Reece coming up next. Well, next week we'll get into, some more. We got a few more stories I wanted to share with you, but I couldn't do it tonight. We didn't have time to do it. But next week we'll bring out more of it. But I just want to mention, too, that there has been some deaths that I do want to share with you for the year 2021. John Anglisi. Well, he was a person that helped us so much. He never was a witness, but he helped us so much on the video suite. He died. He died in May. And we certainly do miss John Anglisi. He used to go to the Witnesses Now for Jesus convention. He always wore that yellow jacket. So that was John Anglisi. He died back in May. And then, of course, I want to bring up Minimus. Minimus, who was a prolific poster on JWN. He died back in August. So I wanted to bring that up. And also wanted to mention some other deaths, too, that are related to the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I know that Larry John Wayne, he lost his 2 Jehovah's Witness parents in a car crash. And that was very difficult, too, to report here on 6 Screens JW World News. So we wish Larry the best, and that was hard. And also, just in December, we had Smurf Girl, Veronica, as we knew her. Well, she came out and talked about 3 members of her Jehovah's Witness family were murdered, and our hearts go out for her. And he was a Jehovah's Witness man that murdered his fleshly brother and her husband. That was a terrible situation. So I wanted to make mention of that tonight. So now you're pretty much up to date on what's going on in the world of the witnesses. But I also wanted to bring some other thoughts to your attention. We do have a program tomorrow. We have a program tomorrow, Sunday, Jehovah's Witness program. You want to come in? We talk about theological thoughts. Many people leave the Watchtower because of theological reasoning. And we don't talk about it on Saturday night, but we talk about it on Sunday. So by all means, why don't you join us tomorrow? We have the Knowing God program. We got Searching for God's Truth in the New World Translation with Anne Marie. We have JW World News. And we have Making Disciples with Jay Hess. That's tomorrow. So why don't you join us tomorrow? Same time. And 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So why don't you join us tomorrow? It'll be great. And as far as SoundCloud, if you want to listen to some of the programs that we do here, in fact, all of the programs, 99% of them get put up on our Rick Ferrin SoundCloud. So if you'd like to listen to some of the programs in their entirety, go to Rick Ferrin SoundCloud and you'll be able to do it. Now, listen, why don't you join some of our Facebook groups? No Nonsense Jehovah's Witnesses, 6 Screens of the Watchtower Jehovah's Witnesses. Why don't you join some of those groups? I think you'll find it very, very fascinating. I think we have someone who wants to come on and say something. Go ahead. We got about 3 minutes. Go ahead.
That's actually Reece from New York.
All right, Reece. Okay, good. Thank you, Reece. You hang on with us.
There's no rush over here.
All right.
I want to let you know I'm here and I'm on deck.
All right. I just heard you in there, so I just want to make sure things are moving in the right direction. So also I wanted to mention, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for mentioning my parents that died in a car accident. The way you started announcing it, and you said, Larry John Wayne. I said, oh no, did I die?
Well, I wanted to acknowledge that, Larry. Even though you had mixed emotions on the whole thing, but it's sad. It's sad to have your parents die. And even though they're Jehovah's Witnesses, we want to acknowledge it. Thank you, Larry. All righty. So anyways, my goodness. Now look, don't send any donations to the 6 Screens. People are still doing it. But, I don't want your donations. I got out of the organization. I listened to websites. I didn't have to pay a penny. I don't want you to have to pay a penny. And give your donation to somebody that can really use it. Even a Jehovah's Witness, a lot of people are hurting right now. So go ahead and help someone out along the trail. That would be good. I'd appreciate that. And I want to send a little shout out to all of those people that are activists. My goodness, there's so many people exposing the Watchtower on YouTube. You got Lloyd Evans. He's doing a great job. You've got Mike and Kimmy. You've got Critical Thinker. You got JW Escape. Boy, the list goes on and on and on. And why don't you start a YouTube channel too? Why don't you expose the Watchtower on YouTube? I really want to give a shout out to all those people that are doing it. There's so many right now, and thank you, because it's making a difference. It really is getting people to leave the Watchtower. Well, I guess that wraps it up. We'll go back next week to JW World News, bring you more information on the stories of 2021. But I want to thank you for coming in here tonight. I want you to keep standing tall. Don't you guys ever give in, give up, give out. Keep working toward exposing the Watchtower. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. By all means, please turn off the new light. Now, if you're on YouTube and you want to listen to our programming, Right now, what I want you to do, if you want to listen to more programming, go to 6screensofthewatchtower.com and scroll down. You'll see how to listen in on your telephone or how to listen in on the video suite. Why don't you give that a try tonight? Scroll down to the video suite, click on that, put a fictitious name in if you don't want to be known, and you can listen to the rest of the programs. We got Reece coming up from the belly of the beast down in New York City. We've got coming up at midnight, we've got Apostle Babe, Healing After the Watchtower. She'll be on tonight at midnight. So stay with us. We certainly appreciate your presence tonight. We're very thankful that we have so many people that are willing to speak up and talk. I thank all of you that have done that tonight. We're now going to Reece, Watchtower, the Occult Connection, up next, right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork.
You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. Disney.
Well, hello, Reece. You on there with us?
I'm here and I'm ready to go, Rick. I hope the listeners are, because this is going to be pretty deep tonight.
Oh, no, I can tell already. I'm going to invite you on the Six Screens video suite, so we'll get you in there. And looking forward to the program. I'm sure you got a lot to say. Lots of things are happening, Reece.
Oh, to say the least, Rick. Let me just get myself set